Cleopatra Vithai, Seduction in Politics. She wasn't just a queen. She was a storm wrapped in silk, fluent in 9 languages, and capable of turning empires into playthings. But how did Cleopatra, a woman born into a crumbling dynasty, seduce not one but 2 of Rome's most powerful men, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony? Why did her charm terrify senators more than swords? And what secrets did she wield behind those coal-lined eyes that made her not just a lover, but a political mastermind? Was it love, lust, or pure strategy? What did she whisper to Caesar that made him risk his reputation? What did Antony see in her that made him abandon Rome for Alexandria's golden shores? And how did Cleopatra weaponize beauty, intellect, and myth to rewrite the rules of power? Subscribe to Dark Crown Chronicles and turn on the notification bell to get every epic update the moment it drops. Mind-blowing stories, twisted plots, no delays. Your next obsession starts now. This isn't just history, it's a scandalous saga of seduction, betrayal, and ambition. So buckle up, because by the end of this video, you'll either want to be Cleopatra or never cross her. Cleopatra VII was born in 69 BC into the royal circus known as the Ptolemaic dynasty, a family tree so tangled with incest, betrayal, and murder, it makes Game of Thrones look like a family picnic. Her ancestor, Ptolemy Soter, was one of Alexander the Great's generals who inherited Egypt after Alex's death. The dynasty ruled from Alexandria, a city founded by Alexander himself, nestled in the Nile Delta, a glittering jewel of culture, commerce, and chaos. Cleopatra wasn't just another royal. She was the first in her family to speak Egyptian fluently. She also spoke 7 or 8 languages, studied philosophy and rhetoric, and mastered oratory with the precision of a courtroom assassin. Plutarch once wrote, "Her presence was irresistible." Translation: Cleopatra didn't walk into a room. She conquered it. Cleopatra grew up in a palace so lavish it could make Versailles blush. Over 100 rooms, each dripping with gold, ivory, and imported silks. Gardens with statues of gods, fountains that sang, and peacocks that probably had better diets than most Romans. And nearby, the Library of Alexandria, the ancient world's version of Google, where Cleopatra soaked up knowledge like a sponge dipped in honey. She wasn't just rich, she was dangerously educated. Cleopatra's childhood was less royal tea party and more Survivor, Nile edition. Her father, Ptolemy XII Olais, was a flute-playing monarch with a shaky grip on power and a talent for making enemies. Her siblings included Berenice IV, who seized power after their mother died, only to be executed by her own father. Family dinners were tense. Arsinoe IV, who would later be exiled by Julius Caesar and executed by Mark Antony at Cleopatra's request. Sisterly love, ancient Egyptian style. Ptolemy XIII, her younger brother and husband, yes, husband, welcome to royal dynastic marriages. Ptolemy XIV, who met a suspicious end, likely poisoned by Cleopatra herself. The family motto might as well have been, "Trust no one, especially not your siblings." At just 17 years old, Cleopatra ascended the throne. Her brother-husband Ptolemy XIII was only 13 and about as politically savvy as a papyrus scroll. Cleopatra, already fluent in 7 languages, trained in rhetoric, and educated in the Library of Alexandria, was ready to rule. But 3 scheming advisors, Pothinus, Achillas, and Theodotus of Chios, whispered sweet nothings into Ptolemy III's ear. Cleopatra, sensing the political winds shifting like a desert storm, tried to secure Roman support. Her target? Pompey the Great, a Roman general with a resume longer than the Nile. Cleopatra's diplomatic flirtation with Pompey was seen as treason by her brother's camp. At 21, she was exiled to Syria, where she did what any self-respecting queen would do. She raised an army. She planned her return. She probably practiced her dramatic entrance speeches in front of a mirror. Meanwhile, Ptolemy XIII and his advisors were panicking. Word came that Pompey, defeated by Julius Caesar in Greece, was fleeing to Egypt for refuge. Pompey, expecting a warm welcome, sailed toward Egypt like a man arriving at his retirement party. But the Egyptian advisors had other plans. They feared helping Pompey would anger Caesar. They feared Pompey might help Cleopatra reclaim her throne. They feared everything except bad decisions. And so, Theodotus, with the cold grin of a man who's read too much Machiavelli, uttered the immortal line, "The dead do not bite." Pompey was lured ashore, greeted with fake smiles, and then brutally beheaded. His severed head was presented to Caesar like a grotesque party favor. Picture this: Julius Caesar sails into Alexandria, expecting a tense but diplomatic showdown with his old frenemy Pompey the Great. Instead, the Egyptians greet him with Pompey's severed head. Surprise. Caesar, a man who could handle betrayal but not bad manners, was horrified. Despite their rivalry, Caesar respected Pompey. They had built empires together, after all. So when Theodotus, Ptolemy XIII's advisor, proudly presented the head like a party favor, Caesar responded with a Roman classic, execution. "The dead don't bite," Theodotus had said. Caesar replied, "But I do." Now Cleopatra was in exile, her throne stolen by her teenage brother and his trio of scheming advisors. But she had a plan so bold it could only be described as papyrus couture. With help from her Sicilian supplier Apollodorus, Cleopatra sailed the Nile for 8 days, hidden like a royal stowaway. As they neared Alexandria, she climbed into a sack made of papyrus, tied with leather, and was smuggled into Caesar's quarters. We don't know Caesar's exact reaction, but let's imagine. Caesar opens the sack expecting scrolls. Instead, out pops Cleopatra, draped in charisma, fluent in 7 languages, and ready to negotiate. He was instantly captivated. Not by her beauty alone. Remember, she wasn't a Hollywood starlet, but by her intellect, confidence, and political savvy. With Caesar backing Cleopatra, her brother Ptolemy XIII threw a royal tantrum and declared war on Rome. Bold move for a teenager. Caesar, outnumbered, took a defensive position in the palace. The event became known as the Siege of Alexandria, a tense standoff with flaming arrows, political chess, and Caesar waiting for reinforcements like a Roman Uber. Eventually, Caesar's allies arrived, and in the Battle of the Nile, Ptolemy XIII tried to flee and drowned. Cleopatra didn't shed a tear. She had a throne to reclaim. With Caesar's support, Cleopatra was back on top. And soon she had a son, Ptolemy Caesar, nicknamed Caesarion. He was the fruit of their union, a symbol of Egypt-Rome alliance, and possibly the most politically charged baby in history. Caesar returned to Rome, and Cleopatra ruled Egypt with style, strategy, and a treasury that could fund 1,000 pyramids. Cleopatra wasn't content with ruling from afar. She sailed to Rome, bringing Caesarion and enough gold to make the Tiber blush. She stayed in Caesar's mansion, dazzling the Roman elite with her exotic flair and sharp intellect. But not everyone was impressed. The Roman senators whispered. To make matters worse, Caesar paraded Arsinoe IV, Cleopatra's sister, as a prisoner in his triumph. Cleopatra watched as her family drama became Roman entertainment. In 44 BC, Caesar was assassinated in the Senate. The daggers weren't just sharp, they were political. His will revealed a twist. Caesarion was not named heir. Instead, his nephew Octavius, later Augustus, was chosen. Cleopatra, now a political liability, returned to Egypt with her son. Rome descended into chaos. Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal general, hunted the conspirators with fury. In 41 BC, Antony sent a messenger to Alexandria, summoning Cleopatra. What followed was one of history's most legendary love stories, 2 titans of power, passion, and politics. But that's a tale for the next act. Cleopatra invites Antony to Alexandria, where the wine flows, the banquets sparkle, and the romance simmers like a pot of Egyptian stew. After a passionate stay, Antony returns to Rome, but the two continue to exchange letters, probably sealed with wax and flirtation. In 40 BC, Cleopatra gives birth to twins, Alexander Helios, sun, Cleopatra Selene, moon. Antony recognizes them as his heirs, which is basically the ancient version of posting baby pics on Instagram with the caption, "My legacy." Back in Rome, Antony tries to resume his marriage with Fulvia, who's probably not thrilled about the twins. She dies shortly after. Whether from heartbreak or politics, we'll never know. To patch things up, Octavius, Caesar's ambitious nephew, offers his sister Octavia in marriage to Antony. The union produces 3 children in 2 years, but Antony's heart is still sailing somewhere down the Nile. After Caesar's death, Antony becomes consul and joins Octavius and Lepidus in the Second Triumvirate, a political alliance that's basically 3 alpha males trying to share one throne. Lepidus quickly fades into irrelevance. Think ancient Rome's version of the guy who gets voted off the island first. Power is split. Octavius rules the West. Antony governs the East, which includes Egypt and, more importantly, Cleopatra. Despite being married to Octavia, Antony reunites with Cleopatra in Antioch, where they make their union official. Cue the scandal. They returned to Alexandria, throwing lavish parties, divine banquets, and public displays of sovereignty that make Roman senators clutch their togas in horror. Cleopatra is no longer just a queen, she's a co-ruler, a lover, and a threat to Roman unity. Antony is forced to leave Egypt to battle the Parthians in Syria and Asia Minor, a campaign that goes about as well as a chariot with square wheels. Meanwhile, Octavius seethes. His sister Octavia has been rejected. Antony is playing emperor with Cleopatra, and worst of all, the couple might carve out a new empire, threatening Rome's supremacy. In 31 BC, the tension explodes into civil war. Antony and Cleopatra face Octavius in the Battle of Actium, off the coast of Greece. Cleopatra accompanies Antony, proving once again that she's not just a queen, she's a ride-or-die empress. But the battle turns against them. Roman ships close in, morale sinks faster than a lead anchor. And just when Antony needs her most, Cleopatra flees the battlefield with her fleet. Was it strategy? Panic? A miscommunication? Historians still debate it. But Antony, devastated and confused, follows her, abandoning the fight. As Cleopatra plotted, Octavia, Antony's Roman wife and Octavius's sister, offered a chilling deal. Kill your lover, and Rome will forgive you. Cleopatra, loyal to the end, refused. Instead, she tried to revive Antony's will to fight, even as she secretly consulted her personal physician to craft a painless poison, just in case. She knew the sands of time were slipping fast. Octavius was marching on Alexandria, and the walls were closing in. As Octavius's forces stormed the city, Antony received false news. Cleopatra was dead. In a fit of despair, he stabbed himself in the chest but missed the mark. Bleeding and writhing, he learned the truth. Cleopatra was alive. He was carried to her, and in a scene worthy of Shakespeare, died in her arms, whispering his final plea. Cleopatra, devastated, mourned in the Egyptian way, with cries, scratches, and self-inflicted wounds. The injuries became infected, and Octavius, now in control, ordered her treated. But Cleopatra resisted. She wanted to die, not be paraded through Rome like a trophy. Octavius, ever the manipulator, threatened her children. Out of maternal love, Cleopatra relented, recovered, and waited. Cleopatra was now a prisoner in her own palace, watched day and night. But she hadn't lost her cunning. She sent a letter to Octavius requesting to be buried beside Antony. Then, in a final act of defiance, she ended her own life. How? That's the mystery. Some say she used a poisonous asp, hidden in a basket of figs. Others believe she ingested a carefully prepared toxin, crafted by her physician. Either way, she was found draped in royal garments, serene, majestic, and utterly unforgettable. She died 9 days after Antony, her funeral elegant and solemn, her wish to be buried beside him granted. With Cleopatra's death, Egypt became a Roman province. The Ptolemaic dynasty, which had ruled for centuries, was no more. Caesarion, her son with Julius Caesar, was executed. Her other children were taken to Rome, raised by Octavia, the very woman Cleopatra had once outshone. But Cleopatra's legacy? Oh, it refused to die. She was admired, feared, and misunderstood. Artists like Michelangelo and Shakespeare turned her into myth. History often reduced her to a seductress, but she was so much more. A linguist, strategist, ruler, and visionary. Cleopatra wasn't just the woman who loved Caesar and Antony. She was a queen who ruled in her own right, a scholar fluent in multiple languages, a political genius who danced with empires and dared to defy them. Her story is not one of seduction, it's one of survival, sovereignty, and self-determination. And when the world tried to cage her, she chose her own ending, regal, resolute, and unforgettable. If Cleopatra's story has you hooked, and trust me, we've only scratched the surface of history's most seductive secrets, don't forget to follow us, subscribe, and click that notification bell. That way you'll be the first to know when we unveil more untold legends, epic betrayals, and the kind of drama that makes modern politics look tame. Subscribe, let's get along, because history isn't just about the past, it's about the stories that still shape us today.